Picture this. It's medieval Europe and you're about to step into the mud-caked boots of the most unwanted job in the village, the executioner. Forget the romantic nonsense of knights and castles. This is the gritty underbelly of justice, where your office is a blood-stained block and your colleagues are crows waiting for scraps. The air smells of damp straw and fear, and the distant clang of a church bell reminds you that even God's keeping his distance. You're not just a man with an axe. You're society's necessary monster, the one they call when words like justice need sharp edges. Welcome to a life where every swing of your blade is a paradox essential yet cursed. Let's set the scene. Dim the lights, maybe crack a window for that cool night breeze and settle in. If you're enjoying this grim little journey, smash that like button and subscribe, only if you're into it, no pressure. Drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's wild to think of you all out there from Tokyo at midnight to Chicago at noon, joining me in this medieval mess. Now back to you, our reluctant hero. In a world where rat catchers dodge plague-ridden alleys and gravediggers whistle past midnight, your job stands out. It's not just dangerous. It's a social death sentence. You're the guy who makes the crowd gasp, then scatter, whispering your name like it's a hex. Your role, simple but brutal. When the sheriff's done pontificating and the judge's quill scratches out a sentence, you're the final act. You don't make the rules, you just enforce them with a blade that's heavier than it looks. One clean chop and justice is served along with a side of public nausea. Miss the mark and the crowd's boos will haunt you worse than any ghost. It's a performance. See, the town square's your stage, and those peasants clutching their turnips aren't just spectators, they're critics. They'll cheer a swift beheading but curse you for a fumbled swing. And the nobles, they'll pay you in silver, then pretend you don't exist at the feast. Hypocrisy's the real currency here. But let's not sugarcoat it. You're not welcome anywhere. Step into a tavern and the room goes quieter than a crypt. Try buying bread, and the baker handles your coins like they're dipped in plague. You're needed, sure, but only when there's a neck to sever or a heretic to burn. Otherwise you're a walking reminder of mortality and nobody likes that guy. It's a lonely gig and the irony stings worse than the axe's recoil. You're the arm of the law, but the law doesn't invite you to supper. Even the village dogs slink away when you pass as if they smell the weight of your sins. Yet there's a strange power in it. You're feared, and fear's a kind of respect, right? Like thunder rolling over the hills, you're undeniable even if nobody's throwing you a parade. You're the shadow that keeps the town in line, the reason kids behave and thieves think twice. It's not glory, but it's something. As you stand by the gallows, the wind tugging at your hood, you know one thing: this life chose you, not the other way around. And it's only just begun. What's it like to be born into this? To have your fate carved before you can even walk? Let's find out as we step into the cradle of a cursed legacy, where your first toy isn't a rattle, it's a miniature axe, and the village is already whispering your name. You've just been born and the world's already decided your trouble. No soft lullabies or warm linen for you. Your cradle's parked next to a whetstone, and the air's thick with the iron tang of your family's trade. Congratulations, you're the newest sprout on a family tree that grows axes, not apples. In medieval Europe, being born an executioner's kid isn't just a rough start, it's a life sentence. While other babies dream of becoming bakers or monks, you're swaddled in wool, and destiny marked for a path that ends at the chopping block. The village knows it, and their whispers sting like frost on bare skin. Imagine it, your first breath is in a house where the fire crackles low, but the warmth doesn't reach the corners. Your father, a hulking figure with hands like oak, sharpens his blade by candlelight, the scrape-scrape rhythm your earliest lullaby. Your mother, tough as old leather, mutters prayers to ward off the evil eye because even she knows the town's already judging you. You're not just a baby, you're a symbol, a tiny heir to a cursed legacy. Other kids get wooden horses, you get toy gallows complete with a knotted string, your bedtime stories less happily ever after, more how to sever a spine in one swing. It's not exactly cosy, but it's yours. The village doesn't wait long to remind you who you are. By the time you're toddling, you're dodging side-eyes at the well. Other children scamper away their laughter, fading as their mothers yank them close. That's the executioner's brat, they hiss as if your chubby hands are already stained with blood. They're not wrong, symbolically speaking. Your surname's a brand, a mark that says untouchable, louder than any leper's bell. In some towns, your family's barred from churches, bakeries, even the public bath, because apparently justice smells too much like death. You learn early you're not one of them, and you never will be. But there's a flip side, isn't there? Nobody messes with you. The local bully who'd happily dunk the blacksmith's kid in mud takes one look at your father's shadow and bolts. You're not liked, but you're respected the way people respect a storm cloud or a very sharp knife. It's a lonely kind of power, but it's power all the same. Family dinners are unique. Less how was your day, and more did you oil the gallows chain. Your father's stories aren't about dragons. They're about the time he botched a swing and the crowd threw cabbages. You listen wide-eyed as the axe on the wall gleams like a grim promise. You can't escape it. There's no medieval career fair, no booth for become a bard. Your path is set inherited like a disease you didn't ask for. Even if you're the kindest kid in the kingdom reciting poetry and rescuing kittens, the town sees only the blade you'll one day wield. You're not just born, you're branded your future as fixed as the stars, and yet there's a stubborn spark in you. Humans are like that, aren't they? Clinging to hope even when the world's already written your story. As you grow, you'll face the village's fear, the weight of your father's lessons, and the dawning truth that this life isn't just a job, it's a cage. What happens when you start to feel that weight? When the whispers follow you like shadows. Let's walk with you, a child already marked into a childhood, where isolation is your oldest friend. You're a kid barely tall enough to reach the well's rope, but the village already treats you like you're swinging an axe. Growing up as the executioner's child in medieval Europe is like being a ghost in your own life. Everyone sees you, but nobody wants you too close. The air's thick with the scent of wood smoke and suspicion, and every step you take through the muddy streets kicks up whispers sharper than thorns. Your world's a strange mix of normal kid stuff, chasing frogs, scraping knees, and a creeping loneliness that clings like damp wool. The axe your father wields isn't just a tool, it's a wall between you and everyone else. Picture a summer day, the kind where other kids are splashing in the creek, their laughter bouncing off the willows. You're there too, but it's different. You dip your toes in the water and the chatter stops. Mothers cluck their tongues, pulling their children away as if you're carrying plague instead of a stick for poking mud. Don't play with that one, they murmur, and you pretend not to hear, but it stings like a nettle's bite. You're 6, maybe 7, and already you know your family's name is a curse word. Your toys, a whittled gallows your father carved a rope knot you practice tying because it's useful. Bedtime stories skip princes and dragons for tales of clean cuts and crowds that cheer or jeer. It's not exactly Grimm's fairy tales, is it? The village square's your daily gauntlet. You shuffle past the baker's stall where the smell of fresh bread makes your stomach growl, but the baker won't meet your eyes. Your coins, earned from your mother selling herbs, are good silver, but he handles them with a rag like they're dipped in sin. At the church it's worse. The priest might let you in, but you sit in the back where the stone's cold and the congregation's glares are colder. Some towns don't even let your kind through the door, your soul's apparently too tainted for salvation. You're a kid, but you're already learning you're not part of this world. You're outside it like a shadow cast by someone else's fire. But there's a strange perk, isn't there? Nobody picks a fight with you. The miller's son, who'd happily shove other kids into the mud, gives you a wide berth, his bravado wilting under your father's reputation. You're not bullied, but you're not befriended either. It's a hollow kind of safety, like being a wolf cub the village fears but won't touch. You start to notice the little things, how the tavern goes quiet when you pass, how the dogs slink away, how even the chickens seem to cluck accusations. You're too young to name it, but you feel it isolation heavy as the axe you'll one day carry. Yet kids are stubborn, aren't they? You still try. You wave at the blacksmith's daughter, hoping for a smile, but she ducks behind her father's anvil. You leave a shiny pebble by the well for the other kids, but it's still there the next day untouched. You laugh at the juggler in the market, but your giggle makes the crowd flinch like joy from you is unnatural. Slowly you stop trying. You retreat to your family's hut where the hearth's warm but the world's not. Your father's gruff voice and your mother's tired eyes are your only constants. What's it like to grow into this role, to carry the village's fear like a cloak you can't shed? Let's walk with you as you learn the truth. You're not just a child, you're a contradiction needed but never wanted a blade in human form. You're the executioner now, a grown man with an axe that feels like an extension of your arm, and the village needs you until they don't. In medieval Europe, you're a walking paradox, the blade of justice wrapped in flesh and scorn. The air's heavy with the scent of hay and hypocrisy, and every creak of the gallows reminds you of your place vital but invisible. You do the work nobody else dares, yet the same folks who cheer your swing won't share their bread. It's a strange dance being society's saviour and its outcast, and you're learning the steps whether you like it or not. Step into the town square on execution day. The crowd's buzzing a mix of nervous chatter and morbid excitement, like they're at a festival but with higher stakes. You stride through, hood up, axe gleaming, and the sea of faces parts like you're a plague cart. They need you today to lop off a thief's head to send a message, but their gratitude's as fleeting as morning mist. Once the deed's done, the head rolls and the blood soaks the straw they scatter, avoiding your gaze like it'll curse their crops. You're the hero of the moment, but only until the moment's over. Then you're just you, the guy they'd rather forget. The nobles are worse. They summon you to their halls, all velvet and candlelight, to discuss justice over wine you'll never taste. They hand you silver, their rings glinting, and pat themselves on the back for upholding the law. But invite you to the feast, not a chance. You're good enough to kill for them, but not to sit at their table. They'll praise your steady hand, then whisper about your tainted soul when you're out of earshot. It's a neat trick using you to clean their messes while keeping their hands lily-white. You're their tool, sharp and reliable, but nobody frames a hammer for display. Even the peasants play the game. They'll nod respectfully when you pass, but it's the kind of nod you give a storm cloud wary, not warm. Try joining the tavern's laughter and the room goes still, mugs frozen mid-sip. You're not contagious, but they act like it, as if your job's a stench that clings to your cloak. The irony's bitterer than the ale you drink alone. You keep their world orderly, yet they'd rather you stay behind a curtain, a hill, or some moral veil they've spun to pretend you don't exist. You're the law's teeth, but they flinch at the bite. There's a grim power in it, though. You're feared, and fear's a currency all its own. Like a wolf prowling the forest's edge, you're respected, not loved, but undeniable. Nobody dares cross you, not when your axe's shadow looms larger than you do. It's not friendship, but it's something. You stand by the gallows, the wind tugging at your hood, and feel the weight of their stares, not gratitude, but acknowledgement. You're the reminder that justice has a cost, and you're the one who pays it. How do you learn to carry that weight, to swing the blade without shaking? Let's follow you to the training ground where your father's lessons carve you into something sharper than steel, and the crowd's judgment waits like a storm on the horizon. You're a teenager now, lanky and awkward, but the axe in your hands feels like it's growing into you. In medieval Europe, being the executioner's heir means your education isn't about Latin or looms, it's about learning to sever a spine without blinking. The training yard behind your family's hut smells of sweat and straw, and the rhythmic thud of your practice swings echoes like a grim heartbeat. Your father, a grizzled mountain of a man, watches with eyes that see every flaw. This isn't just a job, it's a performance. And in the town square, a shaky hand is worse than a death sentence. It's a public disgrace. Step into the yard at dawn, the mist curling like ghosts around your boots. Your father hands you the training axe, its edge dulled but heavy as guilt. One swing he grunts, pointing to a straw-stuffed dummy tied to a post. You swing and the blade bites crooked, spraying straw like a botched haircut. He shakes his head, muttering about the crowd's boos if you miss like that in public. You try again, muscles burning until the dummy's neck splits clean. It's not enough to kill. It's got to look effortless, like you're slicing bread, not ending a life. The crowd doesn't care about your sore arms, they want a show, and you're the star. Your curriculum's brutal. Chopping's just the start. You study anatomy, tracing pig carcasses to learn where bones give and where they fight back. A neck's not just meat. It's a puzzle of sinew and spine, and a bad angle sends your axe bouncing like a drunk's punch. Then there's stage presence, yes, really. You practice striding to the blockhood low axe gleaming while your father barks about posture. Look steady, he says, or they'll smell your fear. Every execution's a spectacle, the village's twisted version of a mummer's play, and you're the grim lead. Kids come to watch, clutching their mother's skirts, eyes wide, as if you're a dragon, not a boy with sweaty palms. Failure's not an option. Botch a swing, and the crowd's laughter cuts deeper than any blade. You hear tales of executioners run out of town for taking 3 hacks to finish the job, their names cursed in taverns. Your father recounts his first time, a trembling hand, a gasping convict, and a crowd that pelted him with onions. Never again he growls, and you feel the weight of his shame like it's yours. Practice isn't just pigs. Sometimes it's rebels or stray livestock, their eyes haunting you long after. You learn to steady your breath, to block out the jeers, but nobody teaches you how to sleep without seeing their faces. There's a strange pride in it, though. Each clean swing, each nod from your father feels like carving your place in a world that doesn't want you. You're not just a killer, you're a craftsman. Your blade, an extension of justice, however twisted it feels. The axe becomes your voice speaking when the village won't listen. But the cost creeps in your hands, toughen, but your heart races at night, wondering if you'll freeze when the real crowd's watching. How do you live in a world that needs your skill but scorns your touch? Let's follow you to the marketplace where even buying a loaf of bread turns into a lesson in exile, and the village's whispers grow louder than ever. You're the executioner's son, grown enough to run errands, but the marketplace treats you like you're carrying death in your basket. In medieval Europe, the village square's a riot of colour and noise vendors, hawking apples, blacksmiths, clanging kids darting through the crowd. But for you it's a gauntlet of glares and silences. The air's rich with the scent of fresh bread and rotting fish. But the moment you step in, the chatter dips like you've doused the sun. Your axe is back home, but its shadow follows you, turning every transaction into a trial. Picture it a crisp morning your mother sent you to buy turnips. You weave through the stalls, your cloak brushing the mud, and the crowd parts like you're a leper with a bell. The vegetable seller, a wiry woman with hands like roots, spots you and stiffens. You hold out your coins, clean silver earned from your father's grim work, but she grabs them with a rag, muttering about blood money. You pick a turnip and she flinches as if your touch curses the crop. Nobody else will buy that pile now. They'll let it rot before risking your taint. You're just a kid buying groceries, but to them you're a walking gallows. It's not just the vendors. The whole square's in on it. A fishwife spits not at you, but close enough to make her pointer cross dangling like a talisman against your presence. Children are yanked behind skirts, their wide eyes peering out, as if you might chop their heads off mid-step. Even the baker, whose bread smells like heaven, won't let you near his loaves. Out of stock he mumbles, though the shelves are piled high. In some towns you're flat out banned from markets, forced to wait till dusk when vendors leave scraps in a special corner like you're a stray dog, not a person. It's medieval DoorDash minus the dignity. You try to shrug it off, but it grates, doesn't it? Your money's good, your hands are clean, but they act like you're dripping sin. You start sending your mother or a cousin to shop anyone whose name doesn't scream executioner. But when you go yourself, you learn tricks. Keep your head down, move fast, don't touch anything you don't intend to buy. You're not stealing, but the suspicion's there, heavy as the axe you'll one day swing. The irony's sour, you keep their justice sharp, but they won't let you touch their radishes. Yet there's a grim clarity in it. You see the village for what it is, a nest of hypocrites who cheer your father's blade but scorn his bread. They need you to do their dirty work, but they'd rather pretend you don't exist between executions. It hardens you like steel in a forge, but it also isolates you further. You retreat to your hut where the hearth's warm and the world's not. What's it like to live so far from the village's heart, banished to a place where even the crows know your name? Let's walk with you to your home beyond the walls where the gallows creak and the town's whispers can't follow. You're the executioner, and home isn't a cosy cottage with roses by the door. It's a draughty hut exiled beyond the village walls where the gallows creak like a grim neighbour. In medieval Europe, you don't just live outside society's heart. You're banished to its fringes where the air smells of damp earth and regret. The town needs your axe, but they'd rather you stay out of sight like a bad dream they can ignore until the next criminal's sentenced. Your life's a paradox. You serve the village, but you'll never belong to it. Step out at dusk, your boots sinking into the muddy path leading to your place. The village's torchlights flicker in the distance, warm and inviting, but not for you. Your home's past the northern gate beyond the market's bustle, tucked where the forest growls and the wind carries the faint tang of iron from your work. It's no accident zoning laws in the Middle Ages are superstition dressed as policy. The same folks who cheer your blade at noon don't want your cursed shadow near their kids by nightfall. You're not a neighbour, you're a ghost they summon only when justice demands blood. Your hut's a gift from the town, which is medieval, for we dumped some lumber and called it a day. It's squat damp with a roof that leaks when the storms roll in. The hearth sputters, barely warming the walls, and the furniture's just a straw mattress and a wobbly stool. Outside, the gallows loom their silhouettes stark against the moon, a constant reminder of your trade. Crows perch there, eyeing you like you're next, and sometimes at breakfast you catch sight of a swaying rope left from last week's job. Bon appétit, right? It's not a home. It's a stage for your exile, complete with props. Nobody visits, no merchants hawk their wares, no monks drop by with blessings, no kids dare each other to knock. The only company is the occasional raccoon bold enough to rummage your scraps or the distant howl of a dog that knows your scent. You hear the church bells faint and mocking, but the marketplace's laughter never reaches you. Storms hit hard out here, the wind rattling your shutters like it's trying to break in and nobody checks if you're okay. The town forgets you exist until the sheriff needs a head rolled into the hay. You're close enough to serve far enough to be erased. There's a grim clarity in it though. Out here the hypocrisy's quieter. No false smiles, no whispered curses, just you, your axe, and the truth of what you are. You sharpen your blade by firelight, the scrape a lullaby for a man who's learned to live alone. It's not peace, but it's honest. Still, the isolation gnaws, doesn't it? You're human after all, stubborn as a weed-craving connection, even in this cursed life. What's it like to try building a family? When the world's already shunned your name, let's walk with you back to your hut's flickering hearth, where love fights to grow in the shadow of the gallows. You're the executioner living in a hut that's more exile than home and family. That's a battle against odds sharper than your axe. In medieval Europe, your job doesn't just curse you, it taints anyone who shares your name. The air's heavy with the scent of pine and loneliness, and the faint creak of the gallows outside your door reminds you that love comes with a cost. You crave a family someone to share the hearth's flicker, but the village's fear clings to you like damp wool, making even a whisper of romance feel like defying fate. Imagine trying to court someone. You're not exactly prime marriage material when your job description includes public dismemberment. Step into the village, your cloak brushing the mud, and fathers lock their doors faster than you can say beheading. Respectable families see you coming and clutch their daughters like you're a wolf, not a man with a lopsided smile and a knack for whittling. The tavern's no better try chatting up a barmaid and she'll serve your ale with a stare that says I'd rather marry the plague. Your dating pool's shallow as a drought-struck well-grave digger's widows with nowhere else to turn, or outcasts who've already burned their bridges. Romantic, right? If you're lucky, stubborn really, you find someone. Maybe a widow, her eyes tired but kind, who sees past the axe to the man who brings her firewood. Your courtship's not candlelit dinners. It's stolen moments in alleys, whispers so nobody spots her with that guy. Marriage, if it happens, is quiet, no church bells or feasts, just a priest muttering vows like he's doing you a favour. Your wife's brave, but the village doesn't care. She's tainted now, her name as cursed as yours, and the market's glares follow her too. You build a life in your hut, the hearth's glow a small defiance, but the world's always waiting to remind you who you are. Children, they're your heart, but they're also your curse. Your son's born with your eyes and your burden destined to swing steel before he can grow a beard. You teach him knots not for sailing but for gallows, and his laughter fades when the village kids run from him. Your daughter carries your name like a stone shunned by girls who'd rather play with lepers. They can't go to festivals, can't stroll the square without whispers cutting deeper than any blade. Church. Maybe the back pew if the priest's feeling generous. Your family's not a unit. It's a fortress holding tight against a world that wants you gone. There's love, though stubborn as a weed in cracked stone. You carve toys for your kids, tell stories of stars, not scaffolds, and your wife's touch is a balm for a soul bruised by silence. But the weight's there, your children inherit not just your blood, but your exile. You see it in their eyes, the dawning truth that they're marked just like you were. It's a family, yes, but it's a lonely one, a circle drawn tight against the village's scorn. What happens when even faith turns its back, when the church calls you a sinner for doing its dirty work? Let's sit by your hearth where the fire's warm but the soul's cold, and face the spiritual void that waits. You're the executioner, your hands steady with an axe but trembling when you seek salvation. In medieval Europe, the church is the heart of hope. Its bells a promise of forgiveness, unless you're you. The air's thick with incense and judgment, and the cold stone of the chapel feels like a wall between you and grace. You enforce divine justice, yet the priests treat you like a sinner who's beyond redemption. Your soul's a battlefield, and the church, your last refuge, has bolted its doors against you. Step into the village church on a Sunday, your cloak heavy with the morning's frost. The congregations packed their murmurs, a soft hum under the priest's Latin drone. You linger at the threshold, hoping to slip in unnoticed, but heads turn eyes sharp as daggers. The priest pauses his gaze, flicking to you like you're a stain on the altar. Some towns outright ban you from services your job's too unclean for sacred ground. Others let you in, but it's a grudging mercy you huddle in the back where the shadows are deep and the pews creak like accusations. Confession. Good luck. Most priests won't hear your sins as if your voice taints the booth. One might if he's bold, but he'll demand rituals, scrubbing your hands raw fasting till you're dizzy before he'll whisper absolution. It's a cruel twist, isn't it? You swing the blade for God's law, punishing heretics and thieves as the church decrees, but they call you the sinner. Killing's a sin, sure, but you're just the tool, the axe in the hand of justice. Yet they act like you're strangling kittens for sport. Communion's off limits. That holy bread's for pure souls and yours. Apparently it's stained blacker than your boots after a botched hanging. Weddings. Your wife's barred from church vows. Christenings, maybe if the priest's desperate for coin. Funerals, don't hold your breath, you'll likely end up in a ditch outside the cemetery. No marker, no prayers, just the crows cawing your epitaph. You try to pray in your hut, kneeling by the hearth's dying embers, but the silence feels like God's turned away too. You light candles, their flicker a plea for mercy, but the weight of your work, every scream, every bloodied block makes you wonder if you're damned. The irony's bitter as wormwood you uphold the law, yet you're spiritually exiled a man who buries others' sins but can't unburden his own. You drink to dull the ache, scream into the woods, where only the owls answer or sharpen your blade until your hands bleed but peace. That's a stranger you've never invite in. There's a stubborn spark, though humans are like that, clinging to faith even when it's forbidden. You mutter prayers your mother taught, hoping they slip through the cracks of heaven's gate. You're the executioner, but you're still a man yearning for a sign that your soul's not lost. The church may shut you out, but you keep knocking quiet and defiant. What happens when you step into the town square where the crowd's eyes judge you harsher than any priest? Let's stand with you, axe in hand, facing the pressure of a single swing that could break your silence or shatter your name. Picture it a crisp dawn, the square packed with peasants clutching turnips and morbid curiosity. You stride to the block hood, low the axe's weight, a familiar ache in your shoulder. The condemned kneels a thief, maybe stole a pig to feed his kids, his eyes, meeting yours pleading or defiant. The crowd's a living beast, buzzing with excitement, kids perched on shoulders for a better view. You've got one job, one clean swing ahead, rolling neatly into the straw. Anything less, and the gasps turn to groans, then boos. Miss by an inch. They snicker. Take a second swing. They're howling, hurling onions, and some kids crying like it's your fault. 3 swings. You might as well pack up and flee the village, we'll never let you forget it. The pressure's a vise, squeezing your chest tighter than your grip on the axe. You've trained for years, but no dummy preps you for this. The crowds roar, the convicts twitch. The slick of blood underfoot. Your wrists screaming from last week's doubleheader, but they don't care about that. They want precision, like you're carving a roast not ending a life. Botch it and the axe catches bone, or the head dangles and the crowd's laughter cuts deeper than any blade. You've heard the tales, executioners stoned for shaky hands, their names turned into tavern slurs. Your father warned you about his first time 2 swings a gasping mess, and the crowd's cabbages still haunt him. You can't let that be you. It's not just the act, it's the performance. See, you're not a man. You're a myth. The hooded figure who makes justice look easy. They expect calm cold steel, no tremble, no sweat. But inside your heart's hammering, replaying every swing before you lift the axe. What if the blade slips? What if they scream? You block it out. Focus on the neck's angle, but the crowd's eyes bore into you, judging your form like it's a dance. A clean cut. They cheer, but it's for the law, not you. A fumble. You're the fool, your reputation shredded faster than the straw underfoot. There's a grim rush, though, when it lands true, a single swing, the crowd gasping in awe. For a moment you're their thunder, undeniable, but it fades fast, leaving you alone with the blood on your boots and the weight of what you've done. No one checks if you're shaking, they're already off to buy ale. How do you carry that the silent aftermath when the crowd's gone and the body's yours to clean? Let's follow you to the shadows, where the real work begins, and the village forgets the man who sweeps their sins away. You're the executioner and the crowd's gone, their cheers fading like smoke after the axe falls. In medieval Europe, your job doesn't end with a clean swing, the real work starts when the town square empties, leaving you with blood straw and a body nobody wants. The air's heavy with the stench of iron and ash, and the gallows creak, like they're mocking your exhaustion. You're not just justice's blade. You're its janitor, cleaning up the mess of a world that needs you but won't thank you. Step into the square at dusk, the cobblestones slick under your boots. The head's in the hay, the body slumped on the block, and the crowd's off buying cabbages as if you didn't just turn their justice into theatre. Now it's your job to deal with the aftermath. No gloves, no soap, just you and a cart that groans louder than your knees. You haul the body to the edge of town, maybe to a shallow grave by the gallows, medievals, answer to a garbage chute. Or you burn it the flames, licking the sky while the smell of charred flesh clings to your cloak. Dogs circle hopeful, and you shoo them off, praying they don't dig it up before dawn. It's not a funeral, it's disposal, and you're the one left holding the shovel. But that's just the main event. Your side gigs are a grim buffet, torture branding, flogging, even nailing up shame signs for petty thieves. The sheriff wants a confession. You're the guy with the hot irons, your stomach twisting as screams fill the dungeon. A noble needs a traitor marked you press the brand the sizzle louder than your conscience. Sometimes it's public shaming swinging a whip while reading scripture, your voice flat to drown out the crowd's jeers. Multitasking medieval-style justice with a side of moral rot. And if a lord wants discretion, some poor soul vanishing quietly, you're the one in the shadows knowing one wrong word and you're next. Nobody sees this part. The crowd loves the spectacle the axes flash, but they flinch at the clean-up. You're the silent end of their law, the one who sweeps away the sin they cheered. The same folks who roared for blood now cross the street, noses wrinkled like you smell of death. And well you do. No thanks, no nods, just you the cart, and a silence heavier than the corpse. You scrub your hands raw, but the blood's in your dreams now, staining deeper than any cloth. It's a lonely grind, and the village pretends it's not your burden to carry. There's a grim rhythm to it though, like the scrape of your blade on the whetstone. You do what's needed because someone has to and the world keeps turning, but the weight builds, doesn't it? Each body, each scream another stone on your chest. How do you live with the silver you earn when it buys you nothing but more solitude? Let's walk with you to the tavern where your coin's good, but your presence isn't, and the village's whispers follow like a second shadow. You're the executioner, and your purse jingles with silver, but in medieval Europe wealth doesn't buy you warmth. Your job pays better than a peasant's toil. Executions, tortures, and discreet disposals come with coin, but the village treats your money like it's cursed. The air's thick with the tavern's ale and suspicion, and every clink of your coins draws eyes sharper than your axe. You're richer than most, but lonelier too. A dragon hoarding gold in a cave nobody dares enter. Step into the tavern, the firelight dancing on rough-hewn beams. You've just been paid a tidy sum for a heretic's head, plus a bribe for making it quick. Your pouch is heavy enough to make the baker jealous, maybe even buy a proper bed instead of that straw mattress. But as you sit, the room hushes mugs, pausing mid-sip. The barkeep pours your ale, then wipes the counter like your presence is a smudge. You tip double, hoping for a nod, but he avoids your eyes, muttering about blood money. Your silver's real, but to them it's tainted like you've handed over a scorpion instead of a coin. It's the same everywhere. At the tailor's you order a tunic, your coin good for fine wool, but the merchant hands it over with tongs as if your touch poisons the thread. Try giving alms to the church and they take it, then spend it cleaning relics just in case your generosity's unholy. You could buy a horse, a hearth, maybe a patch of land, but what's the point? Wealth builds walls, not bridges. Your hut's got furniture now, a table, a chest rare for your class. But it's cold comfort when you're dining alone, the gallows creaking outside like a grim lullaby. The irony's sharper than your blade, the more you earn, the further you're pushed. Peasants envy your coin, but cross the street when you pass. Nobles pay you well, then bar you from their feasts. You're rich, sure, but it's a hollow kind, buying silence, not smiles. You drink alone at the tavern's corner, the laughter around you fading when you glance up. Your money can't buy a friend a wife's touch, or a child's laugh untainted by your name. It can't scrub the blood from your dreams, or quiet the whispers that dog your steps. Yet there's a strange power in it. Your coin means you don't grovel, don't starve. You stand taller knowing you could outbid the blacksmith for that horse he's eyeing. It's not love, but it's leverage, a quiet defiance in a world that shuns you. Still, the solitude bites deeper than winter's frost. You count your silver by firelight, each coin a reminder of a life you ended, a debt you'll never pay. What's it like to be known by all, yet seen by none, your name, a myth carved in fear? Let's sit with you in that tavern where the world's close, but untouchable, and your shadow's the only company you keep. You're the executioner, a name whispered in every tavern, yet nobody truly knows you. In medieval Europe, you're a legend carved in fear, your footsteps echoing through village tales like a ghost's tread. The air's thick with the scent of ale and suspicion, and the market's hum dips when you pass as if your shadow alone could curdle milk. Everyone recognizes you, the hooded figure with the axe, but your heart, your hopes, your quiet whittling by the fire, those are strangers to a world that's reduced you to a blade. Step into the village square, your cloak brushing the mud. The crowd parts, mothers clutching kids like you might swing your axe mid-stroll. That's him, they murmur, eyes wide, as if you're a wolf prowling their sheepfold. Your name's on every tongue, tied to tales of heads rolling and gallows creaking, but it's a myth, not a man. Nobody asks about the song you hum while sharpening your blade, or the way you carve tiny birds from scraps of oak. To them you're not a person with doubts or dreams, you're the executioner, a job description with legs. Even off duty buying onions, they cross the street like your curse is contagious. It's a strange dance, being known yet unseen. You hear your name in bedtime stories, a boogeyman to scare kids straight. Be good, or the Axeman'll come. In court you're the blade of justice, a title that sounds grand until you're alone, scrubbing blood from your boots. At the tavern, voices hush when you enter. Mugs frozen mid-sip, and when you leave, laughter blooms again like you're a storm that's passed. Nobody asks how's your day, or you holding up. They've decided you don't feel, don't ache, don't lie awake wondering if you're damned. You're a tool, not a soul, and tools don't have stories. You play the part, don't you? You learn to stand still, nod curtly, let your silence fill the space they've carved for you. Smiling's the worst, try it, and they flinch like a grinning executioner's some unholy beast. So you become the figure they expect. Grimstone carved the hooded myth who swings without blinking. But inside you're still you, a man who loves the smell of rain, who flinches at a child's cry, who wishes just once someone would ask your name instead of your trade. The village knows you, but they don't see you, and that gap's lonelier than your hut's empty hearth. There's a bitter clarity in it, though. You're their necessary ghost haunting their laws, their fears, their order. You exist in their world, but not of it, a pulse wrapped in shadow. It hardens you, but it also sharpens your gaze. You see their hypocrisy, their quick judgments, their need for a villain to bear their sins. What happens when that weight follows you home, when the faces you've ended haunt your sleep? Let's sit with you in your hut, where the fire's low, and the nightmares are waiting, and the axe's shadow looms larger than ever. You're the executioner, and night's no refuge when your dreams are a gallery of ghosts. In medieval Europe, your hut's a lonely outpost, the fires glow, barely holding back the dark. The air's heavy with the scent of iron and straw, and the creak of your mattress sounds too much like the gallows. You lie down, hoping for rest, but the faces you've ended screaming silent, resigned. Weight behind your eyelids, turning sleep into a battlefield where your axe never stops swinging. Close your eyes, and there they are. A thief, eyes wide with panic, begging for mercy you couldn't give. A heretic muttering prayers as the blade fell, his lips still moving in your memory. The worst are the quiet ones, the ones who looked at you not with hate, but with a calm that cut deeper than any curse. You know this is wrong, their eyes said, and you swung anyway because that's the job. Your dreams replay every swing, every crunch of bone, every spurt of blood that stained your boots. The crowd's there too, their gasps and cheers a chorus that twists into mockery when you miss the blade catching the head dangling. You wake gasping fists clench the hut's silence louder than their screams. It's not just the faces, it's the sounds. The snap of a rope, the clatter of a dropped axe, the creak of a cart hauling bodies, they echo in your head, turning everyday noises into triggers. Splitting firewood makes you flinch. A knotted rope feels like a noose in your hands. The botched jobs haunt you worse that time. Your hand shook the blade bit wrong and the convict moaned the crowd's boos louder than his pain. You were trained to kill, not to feel, but nobody taught you how to forget. There's no medieval therapist, no confessor for your kind. You carry it alone, a weight heavier than any blade. You try to outrun it. You drink the ale's bite, dulling the edges, but it only sharpens the dreams. You scream into the forest where the owls don't judge or sharpen your axe until your hands bleed. The scrape, a futile prayer. The village doesn't care, they see the hooded figure, not the man unravelling. No one checks on you, no one asks if the blood's washed off your soul. You stare into the fire, willing it to burn away the faces, but they linger a parade of your duty's cost. Sometimes you wonder, were they guilty, did justice falter? The questions gnaw, but answers don't come. Yet you're human, stubborn as a weed in cracked stone. You cling to small things, the fire's warmth, the stars through your window hoping they anchor you. You're the executioner, but you're still a man fighting to keep your soul from going numb. The nightmares don't stop, but you rise each dawn axe in hand because the village needs its ghost. What happens when time creeps in, when your hands shake, not from fear, but age, and the town starts looking for a sharper blade? Let's stand with you as the years weigh heavier than your axe, and the end of your duty looms like a shadow. You're the executioner, your hands gnarled from years of swinging steel, but in medieval Europe there's no golden axe to hang up. The air's heavy with the scent of damp straw and weariness, and your hut's hearth flickers like it knows your time's running out. The village doesn't offer retirement feasts or pensions. When you falter, they don't mourn, they replace you. Your knees creak louder than the gallows. and the town's whispers have shifted from fear to pity, the kind that stings worse than any blade. Step into the square, your axe heavier than it used to be. The crowd's there hungry for justice, but their eyes linger on your trembling grip, not your hooded menace. You've been their thunder for decades, each swing a grim promise of order. But now your hands shake, not from nerves, but time. The village notices. They don't say it, but you feel it in their stares, hear it in the tavern's hushed bets. He's slowing down. No one sends a letter or pulls you aside. The transition's silent, like a shadow creeping in. Your apprentice, maybe your son, maybe a cousin with steadier hands, starts taking the small jobs. A flogging here, a branding there, then a hanging. The crowd claps for him, and you're left on the sidelines, your axe rusting like your relevance. It's not about you see you're not a man to them. You're a mechanism, a cog in their justice machine. As long as the blade's sharp and the head rolls clean, they nod and move on. But stumble take too long with the rope missed by an inch and the machine sputters. They don't care about your aching back or the nightmares that wake you gasping. They want efficiency, not empathy. The pity's the worst. Peasants who once flinched at your shadow now offer nods that feel like condolences. Poor old axeman, they murmur, and you'd rather they spit. Pity means you're no longer needed, and in this world need was your only tether. You fade into your hut, the gallows outside creaking like a clock counting down. Your tools gather dust, the whetstone silent for the first time in years. Your hands, once precise as a hawk's dive, fumble with a spoon, and the mirror shows a face carved by more than blades. Nobody visits. No feasts, no tales by the fire, just you, the crows, and a silence that feels like betrayal. The town's already forgotten your name, whispering about the new guy, his swings crisp and crowd-pleasing. You're a footnote now, a ghost they don't need to summon. When you die alone in that straw bed, the church won't know where to bury you inside the gates or under some nameless tree. You were their tool and tools when worn or discarded. There's a grim truth in it, though. You always knew this was coming. The axe life doesn't end in glory. You served, you swung, you carried their sins, and now you're free in a way. Free to fade to rust, to be nothing. But the weight lingers, doesn't it? The lives you ended, the justice you served, was it just... Let's sit with you by the dying fire where the questions you've buried rise like smoke, and the axe's shadow asks what you've truly been. You're the executioner, your hands scarred from a lifetime of duty, but now the axe feels like a lie. In medieval Europe you were justice's arms swinging without question, but the years have cracked your certainty. The air's thick with the scent of embers and doubt, and your hut's silence amplifies the voices you've silenced. You've buried thieves, heretics and rebels, but lately you wonder, were you justice's sword or just its gravedigger? The block's slick with more than blood, it's heavy with secrets you can't unsee. Rewind to those early days when the job made sense. A murderer's neck, a crowd's roar, a clean chopped justice served neat as a baker's loaf. You didn't flinch, you swung believing in the law's weight. But time's a cruel teacher. You see a man hanged for stealing bread, his 5 kids' faces gaunt in the crowd. A woman burned for witchcraft, her crime muttering prayers in a tongue the priest didn't know. Her eyes, confused, haunt you still. Then the noble's orders executions, not for guilt, but greed land or a rival's silence. You realize you're not just ending crimes. You're burying inconvenient truths, the poor, the powerless, anyone who doesn't fit their game. The block's a filter sifting out the weak while the powerful smirk. You've seen magistrates haggle over souls, their glances sharp as coins. The crowd cheers a screaming man, but you catch the noble's nod, the deal sealed before the trial. They told you don't judge just swing, but what if the sentence was wrong? A loaf of bread, a muttered prayer, a political pawn. Were they worth a life? You want to believe in justice, in the law's clean lines. But it's muddied now, a river choked with doubt. You're the executioner, but you're human, and humans question even when it's dangerous. You sit by the fire, sharpening a blade, you barely use the scrape, a futile chant. You can't speak out. Nobody listens to the hooded man. The tavern's full of tales, but none for you. The church offers no confessional for your kind. You're alone with your questions, each one a cut deeper than your axe. Were they innocent? Did you serve truth or just power? The answers don't matter. The sentence was passed, the crowd gathered, and you swung. But the doubt stays a shadow heavier than your blade. You're not justice's champion. You're its broom sweeping truth under the scaffold. There's a stubborn ache, though humans cling to meaning even in the dark. You replay each face searching for proof you did right, but find only questions. The axe was your voice, but what did it say? As your hands weaken and your time fades, the truth grows clearer. You were never the judge, only the end. What's left when you face your own end, when the village forgets the man who carried their sins? Let's sit with you one last time as the fire dies, and the gallows wait, and your life's final act plays out in silence. You're the executioner old now, your hands too shaky to lift the axe that defined you. In medieval Europe, your life's end isn't a hero's ballad or a noble's feast. It's a quiet fade in a hut that smells of iron and time. The air's heavy with the chill of winter and the weight of a life endured, not celebrated. The village that needed your blade has forgotten your name, and the gallows outside your door creak like a final mocking lullaby. You are their justice, their ghost, but in death you're just another shadow they'll sweep away. Lie in your straw bed, the mattress sagging under years of restless nights. A cough rattles your chest stubborn as the doubts that never left. The hearth's embers glow faint, casting flickers on the axe hung by the wall, its edge dulled like your days. No family gathers, no wife, no children may be gone before you, or scattered by the curse of your name. No priest hurries to your side with prayers. The church never wanted your soul anyway. The village moves on its laughter and bells distant like a world you were never part of. You're alone as you always were, the silence louder than any crowd's roar. Your death's no spectacle. No bells toll, no scribes note your passing. Maybe a boy finds you drawn by the smell, or maybe you lie undiscovered until spring thaws the frost. The town clerk scribbles a line in a ledger. Executioner deceased replacement pending, and that's your epitaph. No funeral, no headstone, just a wooden marker if someone's feeling kind, but it won't survive the rain. They bury you outside the gates where you lived in unconsecrated earth with the suicides and outcasts. You buried hundreds, their faces etched in your dreams, but nobody buries you with care. The crows your only witnesses caw a farewell nobody else will offer. In time you're a whisper, then nothing. Remember that axeman, someone might say over ale, the one who took 2 swings that time or worse? What was his name again? Your legacy's not stories or love, it's absence, a gap in the village's memory. They're happy to fill with the next blade. You ensured the guilty were forgotten, but you didn't expect to join them. It's fitting in a grim way you were never meant to be mourned, only endured. You served duty, not glory, and duty's reward is silence cold as the earth that claims you. Yet there's a stubborn humanity in it, isn't there? You lived, you swung, you doubted, you dreamed, even when the world said you shouldn't. You were more than the axe, though they never saw it. As your breath fades, maybe you find a flicker of peace knowing you carried their sins so they wouldn't have to. Your story's done, but others wait tales of ambition of gold gleaming in rivers of men chasing dreams as heavy as your blade. Let's leave your hut where the fire's gone cold and step into a new world where a single glint in a ditch sparks a fever that reshapes a nation. You're standing by a muddy ditch in 1848 California, the air sharp with pine and promise. It's January 24th and James W. Marshall, a carpenter with dirt under his nails, squints at something glinting in the American river. It's not fool's gold, it's the real deal, a yellow flake that sparks a frenzy you can't yet imagine. The water's cold, the sun's low, and this single shimmer's about to turn a sleepy frontier into a global magnet for dreamers, schemers, and the downright desperate. Welcome to the California gold rush, where one man's find flips the world upside down. Picture it, Marshall's working for John Sutter, a man dreaming of an agricultural empire, not a gold-fueled circus. He picks up that flake, scratches it, tests it, yep, gold. His heart's probably racing, but Sutter, he's sweating bullets, and not from the heat. Gold means chaos, strangers trampling his land, his crops, his plans. They try to keep it hush-hush, swearing secrecy like kids with a stolen pie. Spoiler, they fail spectacularly. Within weeks, whispers spread faster than a brush fire from local bars to San Francisco's docks. Folks ditch their plows, mid-furrow sailors abandon ships, and newspapers print gold like it's gospel. By summer, President Polk's speech to Congress confirms it, and the world's hooked. The irony's thicker than the mud. Marshall, the guy who kicked it off, ends up broke his name, a footnote. Sutter's dreams drown under a flood of prospectors, his land overrun like a picnic hit by ants. That tiny flake reshapes California, fuels America's westward sprint, and catapults a backwater to statehood in 2 years flat. It's not just gold, it's a fever burning through logic and lives. The river's glint promises wealth, but it delivers chaos, and you're about to see how. What happens when thousands chase that shimmer, leaving everything behind? Let's follow the stampede as the 49ers pour in and the land groans under their weight. You're a farmer in Ohio, 1849, your hands calloused from ploughing, but the word gold hits like a lightning bolt. California's rivers are paved with it, they say, and you're ready to ditch your fields for a shot at riches. The air's thick with dust and ambition, and the horizon hums with the promise of a new life. You sell your land, kiss your family goodbye, and join the 49ers, a wave of 90,000 souls flooding California by land, sea, and sheer grit. The gold rush isn't just a hunt. It's a migration that remakes the world. Step onto the trail, your boots crunching gravel, the wagon creaking like your nerves. You're not alone. Latin Americans, Australians, Chinese miners, Europeans all chasing the same glint. Some trudge across deserts, dodging cholera and starvation, their bones bleaching the plains if luck runs dry. Others sail creaky ships rounding Panama, praying yellow fever doesn't claim them before they reach San Francisco, that port town. It's a circus now ballooning from 1,000 to 25,000 in a year. Canvas tents sprout like mushrooms, abandoned ships clog the harbour turned into jails or hotels. You can't walk without tripping over a dreamer or a drunk. It's chaos pure and raw. Eggs cost $3, and boots might run you 100. Scams are thicker than the mud, and pickaxes are priced like crown jewels. But the dream's enough to keep you going, isn't it? Gold's out there, glittering in the Sierra Nevadas rivers, and you're swinging a pan, hoping your next scoop changes everything. San Francisco's a madhouse, but it's alive, pulsing with hope and greed. What's it like to reach those rivers, to face the back-breaking truth behind the myth? Let's wade into the cold where the real work begins, and the gold's as elusive as the dreams you chased. You've made it to California's gold country, 1849, your boots soaked in the Sierra Nevada's icy rivers. The air's sharp with pine and desperation, and the glint of gold you chased across a continent feels like a cruel tease. Mining's no treasure hunt. It's a soul-crushing slog, your back aching, your hands raw from swirling gravel in a pan that's usually empty. Forget chests of coins. You're knee-deep in freezing water, praying for a speck to change your life. Welcome to the gold rush's brutal truth, where the dream's bright, but the reality's as cold as the stream. Picture at dawn breaks the camps, a mess of tents and mud. You're up early, your breath fogging, wading into a river that numbs your legs in seconds. Placer mining's the game, scooping gravel, swirling it, hoping for a flicker of gold dust. Most times you get nothing but a sore back and a growling stomach. The easy pickings are gone. Now it's rockers, sluices, and later hydraulic mining blasting hills with water cannons turning forest to sludge. It's effective, but it's hell-poisoning rivers and burying dreams under tons of silt. You work till dusk, your knees creaking like old hinges, and for what one lucky strike to 1,000 empty pans. Life's no kinder outside the river. Camps are chaos, filthy, crowded with cholera lurking in the water. You cook a squirrel over a smoky fire, hoping it doesn't kill you faster than starvation. A cut on your finger. Good luck finding a doctor who's not a moonshine-peddling quack. Prices are absurd. A shovel costs $30 eggs or a luxury in clean clothes. A fantasy. Theft's rampant. Your bunkmate's gone with your gold dust before breakfast. The myth of easy riches keeps you swinging, but the truth's in the graves dotting the hills. Miners broke or buried. There's a stubborn spark, though, isn't there? You pan on, driven by that flicker of hope, the chance that tomorrow's scoop will make you rich. Humans are like that, chasing glints even when the odds laugh. But the cost's steep, and the camps are tinderboxes of greed and despair. What happens when those tensions boil over, when law's a stranger and a shovel's a weapon? Let's step into the boom towns where gold fuels chaos and justice wears a noose. You're in a California boomtown, 1850, where gold's turned dirt into dreams and tents into towns overnight. The air's thick with whiskey mud and the clatter of poker chips, and places like Placerville or Deadwood pulse with raw, reckless energy. These aren't cities, they're fever dreams stitched together by greed and grit. There's no sheriff, no judge, just men with shovels and short fuses. Welcome to the gold rush's wild heart, where justice is a rope and the saloon's the only law that sticks. Walk down the main drag, a churned-up mess of mud and hope. Tents and shacks lean like drunk saloons, glowing with lantern light and brawls. You hear a fiddle screech, a gunshot pop, and someone yelling about a claim. These towns, Marysville, Deadwood, sprang up faster than weeds, fueled by gold and desperation. No laws, no government, just a shaky code of finders keepers. Stake a claim, and someone might steal it. Guard it, and they might shoot you. The saloon's the hub, gambling, drinking, and soiled doves charging a fortune for a smile. You pay with gold dust pinched on a bar scale because coins are a myth here. Justice. That's a vigilante's game. No court, so miners form their own committees. Catch a thief, and it's a quick trial, maybe a tree branch and a rope. No lawyer, no jury, just a crowd deciding if you're guilty or unlucky. It's not justice. It's convenience as brutal as the river's current. Some vigilantes mean well rooting out cheats, but others just greed with a noose. You see a man hanged for a stolen pouch, his boots swinging, and wonder if he deserved it, or just crossed the wrong drunk. The crowd disperses back to their pans, and you're left with the silence of a town that writes its own rules. There's a wild pulse to it, though. These towns are alive, chaotic, a gamble as big as the gold you chase. You dodge a brawl, sidestep a conman, and cling to the hope that keeps you here. But chaos breeds cost lives, lost claims stolen, and a land buckling under ambition. What happens when that cost hits harder, when the rush buries more than dirt? Let's walk with the outcasts, natives, Chinese and others, who paid the price for this glittering dream. You're in California's gold fields. 1850, the air heavy with dust and the clink of pans, but the glitter of gold hides a darker cost. The rush isn't just a chase for riches, it's a wrecking ball for those who were here first, and those who came seeking a share. The scent of churned earth and campfire smoke masks the pain of native tribes and immigrants pushed aside by greed. You're panning for gold, but the real price is paid in lives, lands, and broken dreams, and the rush's shine dims when you see who's left in the mud. Step into the Sierra Nevada, where Native American tribes here for millennia watch their world collapse. Miners swarm their hunting grounds, felling forests, poisoning rivers with mercury, and leaving scars deeper than any axe. Tribes are driven out, some enslaved under apprenticeships, others massacred by state-backed militias. In 2 decades, California's native population drops by 90%, a silent catastrophe under the rush's roar. You see their empty villages, hear their stories whispered by survivors, and feel the weight of a land stolen faster than gold from a pan. Then there's the immigrants drawn by the same glint you chased. Chinese miners, tens of thousands by 1852, face suspicion, and a brutal foreign miners' tax targeting them alone. They can't own land, can't testify in court, yet they rework abandoned claims their resilience a quiet defiance. Mexicans and Latin Americans, skilled miners, are hounded out, called slurs, their claims stolen by mobs. African Americans, free or enslaved, seek opportunity, but freedom's a mirage in a land where loopholes keep chains tight. You pan beside them, but their fight's harder, their gold dust bought with blood. The rush promised wealth for all, but it's a rigged game, isn't it? You see the unfairness in every noose, every tax, every shove. The dream's bright, but its shadow's long, and you wonder if your nugget's worth the cost. What happens when this chaos fuels not just camps, but a nation's rise? Let's follow the gold's gleam to the cities where wealth reshapes America, and the rush's pulse beats louder than ever. You're in California 1852, where gold's not just a dream, it's a tidal wave of cash remaking a frontier into a powerhouse. The air hums with the clink of coins and the creak of new buildings, the scent of sawdust and ambition, thick in San Francisco's streets. The gold rush isn't just panning rivers, it's fueling banks, building empires, and shoving California onto the world stage. You're here watching a nation stretch its legs, but the ground's shaky, and the wealth sparking fights bigger than any saloon brawl. Picture it, gold exports hit $80 million billions today, pouring into banks backing currencies and lighting up industries. California's no sleepy outpost. It's the heart of a new America. In 1850 it leaps to statehood, skipping the usual territory phase, a warp speed rise driven by gold's pull. But it's a free state banning slavery, and that's a match to the powder keg of north-south tensions, pushing the US closer to civil war. You walk San Francisco's dock ships unloading dreamers and goods and see a city exploding with wealth and chaos. The real gold's not in the rivers, it's in the miners' pockets. Levi Strauss, a German immigrant, sells tough canvas pants that become blue jeans, a fortune born from miners' torn knees. Leland Stanford slings supplies, then builds railroads, and a university is name etched in history. Railroads link California's gold to eastern markets, shrinking months-long treks to days. You ride a stagecoach rattling over new roads and feel the rush's pulse in every jolt. Entrepreneurs, not just miners, strike it rich, turning camps into cities, shacks into homes. It's a boom, sure, but it's messy. The wealth's uneven and the land's paying a price you can't ignore. What happens when those rivers run brown, when the hills collapse under greed's weight?